Hi, it's me, Katie McCombs Williams again, coming to you today to talk to you about seven main areas that concern the school for my law and ethics class and how the law pertains to these areas. So, the first area pertaining to school law is religion. So, the First Amendment contains something called the Establishment Clause, which means that schools pretty much have to remain neutral when it comes to religious freedoms. You can't force your own religion on other students. You also can't really aid or inhibit any type of religion. Students are allowed to pray voluntarily, but you are not allowed to lead student prayer. Reading of the Bible is also considered illegal unless you are using it strictly for a secular purpose. As far as religion is concerned in the curriculum, your school system can choose to teach the theory of evolution because it is based on scientific facts and it's considered in a scientific background, but the Bible must never be taught unless, like I said, you're just reading something for a secular purpose only. Teachers are allowed to have their own religious freedom, but only if it doesn't create distractions or violate the establishment clause. So the best thing for you to do, if you think about it when it comes to religion, is just try to really just remain neutral. That's going to be your best thing. Freedom of expression. Students are allowed to express themselves as long as it doesn't create a distraction or create something that could result in the destruction of school property. Students are allowed to have peaceful protests at the school. And then the student newspaper can be sponsored by faculty, but the students actually have the final say in that. So it's very important to make sure that you help the students know what is appropriate and not appropriate to be, printed. Search and seizure. Teachers don't really need a warrant. All they need is something called probable cause. So in order to do this, though, they have to be pretty certain that they're searching for something specific. You should definitely avoid strip searches at all costs. Never touch a student's phone. Searching their phones violates the Fourth Amendment. School officials, you want to leave that up to the principal. If you even have to call in a SRO, that would even be better to do any kind of search. But things like searching a locker or searching something that is on school property is considered to be within a standard of reasonableness. So if it belongs to the school, they should be able to have access to it. But like I said, things like a student's phone, you should definitely never search. Children with disabilities. This is where your disabilities come in with your IEPs and your teams, and you come down and find the best solution for these children. IDEA guarantees that children with disabilities have the right to a free, appropriate education in schools. So the schools provide services, and the school personnel should also be aware of any liability related to student services. Parents have the right to request testing, but everything falls back if they get it on that IEP, and that's a team decision that the schools really abide by. That's their personal plan. So the students must receive the services in their least restrictive environment. And there's also inclusion, which means that these students that have the special needs or the disabilities will be included in the general classroom with regular students, but they will also have services provided to them. Due process is applied to cases where the Fifth Amendment or the 14th Amendments have been violated. So pretty much it's guaranteed fairness. Teachers are allowed due process, and so are students. So it's designed to prohibit anything capricious action from happening before you're innocent until you're proven guilty. So it requires a set of steps. Students and teachers have the right to be notified. So this means you can't just accuse somebody of something. They have to actually go through this due process. So it protects the students from random actions of school leaderships to take away things. So it pretty much just makes everything have some type of order. That's what due process is really. And the teachers are guaranteed it, and so are the students. Liability in student records. This is stuff that is private. This is something called the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. This means that these students are guaranteed confidentiality of their records. You can't go out and tell their business or tell about how they have this medical record or they have anything having to do with their family, anything that's in that record. It can have anything to do with their life, their family background, their grades, anything like that. That's considered confidential information, and it has to be released by the parent or when the student is 18 for them to even be able to access it. So you have to be very careful about anything having to do with student records. So other schools may have access when a student like moves to a new school. School personnel can't go in there and take anything and then slander it, or make a student have acts of malice against them. And the information can be released to other schools, other teachers, or even to the military for recruiting purposes. But that's it. So the last thing we're going to talk about is the Alabama Educator Code of Ethics. So this is like a teacher's contract when they get hired, and it pretty much is saying you uphold a certain moral code. And so there are 9 standards of ethical practices, and they have to do with professional conduct. You are always considered a professional when you are a teacher. You are considered to be trustworthy. You don't lie on documents. You don't lie at period about anything. Unlawful acts, so you conduct yourself accordingly. Teacher and student relationships, always keep those, professional. Alcohol, drug, and tobacco use or possession, you should abstain from that. Also, public funds or property, anything having to do with money, make sure you follow the rules having to do that. It also talks about these 9 standards in which a teacher must act upon. So in order for students to be successful, they have to view you as a role model. So this document gives examples, things that are considered ethical, and then things that are also unethical. So it even reports things specifically, and this is considered a contract. So if you violate something in this code of ethics, it could come up later. So it also explains that if you are a teacher and you see another teacher or know of another teacher that is violating this code of ethics, it's up to you to report it. So if you witness it, you're responsible for that too. Here's my resources. And thank you so much for listening today. I appreciate it. Thank you.